What is going on, YouTube fam? This your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of Hood Tales, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. Definitely watch this video to the end. It got a lot of twists and turns in the story. For all the day one fam, welcome back. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. Y'all already know it's all love. If you're new to the channel and you feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Let's get right into the story. Circumstances and environment can have an effect on people growing up. For example, a middle-class kid comes home from school to both parents, a nice home, good food to eat. That's already a good start to a decent upbringing for most people. On the other side of the coin, you might have a person born to struggle or generational curses. Parents get high, moving from place to place, no stability, coming home to nothing to eat, not even money to wash your clothes or feed your siblings if you have any. That creates a different kind of individual, and most become products of their environment and go day by day trying to survive. I know how much stress and pressure that puts on a kid. Most don't finish school, and by the time you are 15, you feel like you have been through more than most adults. The silver lining to that is if you have a strong support system and other family members that can pick you up and pick up the slack that your parents had left behind until they get their mind right and back on their feet. And more than likely, it's the matriarchs of the family, our grandparents. But sometimes our actions can backfire and come back to hurt the people who saved our lives through hard times and the people we love the most and hurt them. And on this episode of Hood Tales, we will be taking it to Orlando, Florida to discuss a case of a grandmother that lost her life after a retaliation hit that stemmed from a beef one of her grandkids had. According to sources, back in 2018, Miss Ruby Steplight was an 83-year-old grandmother who raised 3 kids of her own and was helping raise some of her 20 grandkids. Miss Ruby was said to be strong, the glue to the family, like most grandmothers are. One of her grandsons had a tough upbringing. Corey Steplight was having run-ins with police as early as 11 years old for carrying a weapon, and again at 12 on drug charges, to the point the young man was becoming more and more angry and focused on the street life because of everything that was going on around him. But at 14, Corey would be charged with a serious crime when him and a friend was accused of a hit on a 23-year-old electrician because they wanted his whip, rims, and stereo, allegedly. By this time, Corey's grandmother, Miss Ruby, had stepped all the way in, while his mother worked on getting herself together. Miss Ruby was at every court date and helping Corey through his tough times. Just 14 at that time, and only 100 pounds, he was considered one of the youngest defendants in Central Florida to be charged with capital murder and was isolated from the rest of the general population in the jail for his protection due to age and size. In 2008, fortunately for him, Corey was acquitted for the murder, but sentenced to a year in jail and 10 months probation for allegedly stealing the whip and stereo. A 15-year-old was sentenced to 30 years for the situation. The victim's name was Marcus Mason. At court, the judge told Corey this was his second chance at life and to stay out of trouble and away from his grandmother's home, as the neighborhood is where the situation occurred. Ms. Ruby was in the courtroom with her grandson and, of course, rode every step of the way. Fast forward 10 years later, Ms. Ruby was still being the matriarch of the family, and Corey was still more than welcome at his grandmother's home. But a neighborhood beef would change things for the whole family when a 29-year-old man named Billy Desrosiers and Corey got into a beef. Allegedly, the situation was over a $500 debt Billy felt like Corey owed him. Billy was a neighbor who lived 2 doors down from Miss Ruby, as she lived in the neighborhood for 14 years. But on September 29th, 2018, things would hit the fan. Billy walked down to confront Corey, who was 25 years old at the time, asking, "Where my money at?" The two would start fighting when allegedly one of Corey's homeboys pulled up, saw what was going on, and let off some shots. Billy ran home, but to only get a blick in a vehicle. And later that day, Billy doubled back to see a few of Ruby's grandkids outside. That's when shots went off at the crowd, and it took Miss Ruby's home. The 83-year-old woman was in the kitchen, cleaning the refrigerator, when allegedly, Billy walked in the house and shot her and her 14-year-old granddaughter before taking off. Police was called to the scene on the 1700 block of 24th Street near Rio Grande Avenue around 2:50 p.m. Where witnesses and neighbors informed them it seemed to be a shootout between two groups. In total, 5 people was hit, including Ms. Ruby, who unfortunately was pronounced gone at the scene. Her 14-year-old granddaughter was survived after being shot in the leg. An investigation was started, and people were pointing at Ruby's neighbor, Billy. He was picked out of a photo lineup, and eventually police arrested the man and questioned him, in which he stated the beef was over an incident that happened earlier that day with Ruby's grandson, Corey. He stated he was furious because his girlfriend was hurt in the altercation, so he came back shooting. Billy stated he shot Ruby's 14-year-old granddaughter, but then told her she was too young to go, and turned his attention to Ruby for retaliation. After that, Billy was charged with first-degree murder, attempt, and handgun violations. As Ms. Ruby's family talked to the news, they stated they knew she was getting older, but they never expected her to go in such a violent way. Her son stated he left home for 30 minutes to come back to bullet holes everywhere. A vigil was held for the 83-year-old grandmother with family and friends. But then, not too long after, the family was dealt another blow when Corey was picked up and charged with attempted murder, accusing him of shooting in an incident at Billy and 3 other people, and that's the reason Billy came back. After a period of time, details started coming out, alleging Corey and Billy was cool at first, and Billy loaned Corey some money, but when him and his girl got robbed, he needed the bread back to get back on his feet. That's when Ms. Ruby stepped in and told the man she would pay the debt, but egos got involved and a fight broke out. The witness told detectives Corey started shooting, hitting Billy's girlfriend and other friend, also stating Billy was shot as well before Corey pulled off. That's when later that day, Billy doubled back, so mad he wanted the ultimate get back, Ms. Ruby. With conflicting stories, the case stood still for a minute, but eventually made his way to trial in 2022. Billy was found guilty of all charges and sentenced to life without parole at 33 years old. As far as for Corey, I couldn't find any new information, whether he beat the charges or is still fighting the attempts. If so, he is innocent until proven otherwise. Rest in peace to Ms. Ruby. I send my deepest prayers and condolences to her family. A woman made it 83 years to lose her life over a $500 debt. That's crazy. I'm going to leave the moral of the story on this one up to y'all. Let me know what you think in the comments. Definitely keep it respectful. And remember, we got to succeed, not to fail, so we won't be just another hood tale. Man, crazy story. Rest in peace, Ms. Ruby. Like I said, I laid it out for y'all, man. I'm going to leave it up to y'all to let me know what y'all think about this one in the comments. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. Y'all already know it's all love, fam. This your boy Tony 2 times. This another episode of Hood Tales. I'm out.